Okay, so straight up, there's a lot to say about the Little Rascals, and I hope I can cover it all in less than an hour. I don't think this video is going to go for an hour, but damn, this is a classic. Obviously, came out in 1994. This is directed by Penelope Spheeris, who recently, in my discovery, is a very interesting director because she is responsible for directing Wayne's World. She's also responsible for directing the film Suburbia, which I recently covered on the channel. I watched it for the first time. Very like punk rock, very bleak and dark take on like the punk rock culture and punk rock genre. Very like very disturbing film for the subject matter. And then she did this, which is a kids film essentially. It's a family film. It's definitely targeted to all kinds of family audiences. The dirty jokes in this film are literally endless. Growing up with this film, like remembering watching it as a kid, I didn't get anything, but after like 12 years old, you started to get more and more of it. And when you watch it in your 20s and 30s, you're like, holy shit, this film is packed with dirty jokes. Like, and all of them will like completely fly over kids' heads. So it's totally tame if you're watching it as a 6 year old because you're not going to get anything. But if you're watching it as a 36-year old, um, yeah, um, yeah. There's some jokes in there that are like, wow, risque much. This film's awesome. I love. It is a shame that this is 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Bullshit. I don't know the IMDb score. I didn't check. I should have checked before I made this recording, but I know that it's 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Bullshit. Bullshit. This is not a 21% film. I gave it 5 stars, but that's because I kind of grew up with it. I probably have a little bit more like bias with it. But this is a fucking good film, man. Um, it hits every funny bone when it comes to like a family oriented film. Um, and like all these actors are child actors. I don't think there's a kid like under 8 years old that plays in this film. I mean, there's probably one that's like 9 years old, but usually with the when it comes to these films, they take like 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds to play 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds because they're more mature. They know how to act better. They're no, these are all child actors, and these actors perform amazingly. Like what they can deliver on screen and what they were asked to deliver on screen is really magnificent, and they deliver their lines so well. And this film is so quotable, and they it's some of the best acting from child actors that you've ever seen, and they're legitimately child actors because most of them were like 6, 7, and so professional, and what they were like asked to do, and the way they were asked to deliver their lines, they delivered them so perfectly. It's kind of amazing. This film is a huge feat, including even the dog actor Petey. Petey's one of the best characters in this film, and it's not even a human. It's an animal. This film is really good. It has that 40s feel because The Little Rascals I think came out in the 40s or 30s. It's definitely like a black and white original thing. And Penelope Spheeris captured that really well. There's a lot of like fast forward shots, a lot of dialogue that definitely sounds very much of like reminiscent of like the golden era, the 40s and 30s. The music definitely complements the 40s and 30s very well, and all the actors like portray an older time, a simpler time. It definitely doesn't feel like 1994. Like if you watch some other film that came out in 1994, this one definitely feels earlier than that from the way it's directed by Penelope Spheeris, and she did a phenomenal job. Now, I'm not familiar with The Little Rascals originally, like the black and white, the original, the OG. I'm not familiar with it. I grew up with this one. I watched it a ton when I was a kid. I could quote this movie like crazy. And basically, we have this group of boys. They own this like He-Man Woman Haters Club, and they just separate themselves from girls, and they're like girls, and then the girls do their own thing, and they're like boys, But these boys have this club, the He-Man Woman Haters Club, and it's run by Spanky. And the main character is Alfalfa, but Alfalfa is the one that falls for the pretty girl Darla, who actually grew up to be a very pretty girl. Brittany, is she back here? Her first name is Brittany. I didn't write her name down, but she definitely grew up to be a very beautiful woman, for sure. And yeah, Alfalfa falls for her, and then he kind of like betrays the whole theme of the He-Man Woman Haters Club because he's falling for a girl, and girls are not allowed in the club and stuff like that. And he's on this first date, and then the whole like the boy group goes to like spy on Alfalfa on a date with Darla, and they're like on a boat in some river, and they like put this can, and they tie it up to like a fishing rod, and they lower the can so they can listen into the conversation between Alfalfa and Darla. And it the "You Are So Beautiful" song is pretty classic, but I'm like it just goes on and on with like the subtext jokes, like Alfalfa's hair going boing. We know what that means. Um, he drops a line where he's like, "You can feed my soul, I will feed your face." Maybe my mind's in the gutter, I don't know. But I definitely take that as a reference to oral sex. This is a fucking family movie, but I'm like, it can't be just me. Like, honestly, like, there's a scene where Froggy, one of the main characters, the kid with the glasses, is he not even in the front cover? Shit. He's not. Froggy is not in the front cover, and Froggy's awesome. But there's a character named Froggy, and he's telling a story in the He-Man Womanators Club how he's hanging out with this girl, and he's like, and she invited me over because she wanted to play. But don't worry, I took care of the situation. I whipped out my lizard. Whipped out my lizard. Yeah. Alright. This film is rated G, so clearly everything is subtext, but clearly one of two things. Either I have a very perverted mind, or the director decided to drop some dirty jokes that would completely go off or over kids' heads. And I'm going with the latter. I think that's what happened. But just the way everybody interacts, like when Alfalfa's on the date with Darla in the clubhouse, and he's like, "I ate 6 boxes of Cracker Jacks just to find that ring that he puts on her her finger," and Spanky and the team are trying to sabotage their date, and they make him like sandwiches with like literal sand in the sandwiches, and I was like, "It's so crunchy," and he's like, "Maybe we should just move on to dessert." And two of my favorite characters, Buckwheat and Porky, their banter is amazing. I mean, it's almost like this movie has like interludes, or like it's kind of like a skit. Like if you were watching like Saturday Night Live or something like that, and there's like little bits that are like 10 to 15 seconds long that come like as interludes in a sense, like the pickle song, "I got 2 pickles, I got 2 pickles, I got 2 pickles today, day, and bing, boom, with a boom, bang, bing, biggle, I got 2 pickles today, day. If anybody is watching this movie that's like under 25 years old, anybody who was like born in the 2000s, first of all, watch this movie, but second of all, this is probably all going over your head because I was, this is 94, I was 5 years old when this came out. So, it was one of the biggest films I watched in my childhood. I watched it kind of on repeat. So, I can quote it a lot. Um, and then there's they're having some kind of festival or fair kind of thing, and there's a race going on in this fair, and this clubhouse, this boy clubhouse, creates this car that's called the Blur, and they want to use this vehicle to race in this tournament, this thing that's going on in this fair, and then other people are competing. There's these two bullies called Butch and Wayne who always terrorize like the boys in the clubhouse, and they build their own vehicle. And then there's this rich kid named Waldo who is like, he's the biggest shit ever. Especially when you watch him as an adult, like you're looking at this kid, you're like, you're such a ugh, like he's that rich kid, but he's like he's one of the best characters in the movie because he acts so mature, like he speaks like he's a teenager, but he's like clearly like 7 years old, 8 years old, whatever. And he falls in love with Darla, and he tries to steal Darla from Alfalfa, but Alfalfa, of course, wins in the end. But Waldo's hilarious, and what's funny is there's a lot of cameos in this film, and one of them is Donald J. Trump. I think is it J. Trump? Did I get that wrong? Are people gonna shoot me? Donald Trump shows up in this movie just like he did in Home Alone 2. Donald Trump makes a cameo in this film as Waldo's dad, and it's just awesome to see him. And so many other people do. Whoopi Goldberg shows up in this film, although it's kind of funny because I'm pretty sure those two would not want to be in the same project as each other because I don't think their views on everything are aligned. So I think looking back, it's kind of funny to see Whoopi Goldberg and Donald Trump in the same film. But maybe they did separate scenes. I don't know. And then you have Reba McEntire showing up here, who Reba McEntire is awesome. I'm recently watching I recently reviewed some of the Tremors films, and I do want to continue on the next Tremors film. I'm not done that review series, but Reba McEntire shows up in the first Tremors film, and shows up here, and she's just that valley girl, that pure country, soulful, like Tennessee accent, and she just delivers. Like she's like a rock star when it comes to all American woman kind of thing. Like Reba McEntire just shows up and delivers with that presence that I really really love. And it's so funny, the whole ballet thing when Alfalfa and Spanky are dressed in the tutus, and they're trying to disguise themselves as girls, partially to get into the ballet to talk to Darla, but also partially to get away from the bullies, Butch and Woym, because Butch and Woym are after them, and then they see them dress as girls, and they're like, woof. What does Butch say? Got a dollar to go with that shake or something like that? Got a burger to go with that shake? There you go. Got a burger to go with that shake? And then Spanky's walking and like strutting, trying to like act like a girl, and then his wig gets stuck on the tree, and then they catch him, and it's Spanky, and then they start chasing him down. I love the pool scene where Alfalfa like jumps into Waldo's pool and like swims across and then loses his drawers, and Darla is sitting there with Waldo, just like, that's a side of you I never seen before. Again with the cameos too, there's a lot of people. The woman who plays Miss Crabtree, I didn't take any actresses or actors' names down a lot of the times, but the woman who plays Miss Crabtree showed up in Kill Bill, and she showed up in Blade Runner, so she's been in a lot of places. And same with the woman who played the ballet teacher, Leah Thompson. Again, huge name. She was in the entire Back to the Future series, and she's been in multiple other projects. And I never when I started watching this film, I actually never discovered that these actresses were in this film until later on, and then I'm like, holy shit, that person has been in so many other projects. That person has been in so many other films. So it's cool to see even the big ones like Donald Trump, Whoopi Goldberg. You kind of forget that they're in these films, but then you remember it, and it's cool. Like it's a good it's like rediscovering. I like that feeling. I love Alfalfa's song when he's singing the Holly song. All I need is the air that I breathe and to love you, and then he accidentally drinks water with bubbles in it because Spanky again tried to sabotage him because Spanky just because Alfalfa had a crush on a girl, because that's the most horrible thing you can do is have a crush on a girl. Oh no, girls are ew. Girls are ew. So he tries to sabotage him with soap water, and then he like spits bubbles everywhere. At one point, he farts a bubble. And the banter, like the fight that they have, again, very like 40s and 30s. It's like, well then, you sissy-fied Tweety bird, I wish I had a club to throw you out of. You sewer slinging slime ball or whatever. Like they're just saying these tame like insults to each other. Where like if you had a movie made like 2 years ago, it would be like, you fucking motherfucker, fucking son of a fucking bitch, fuck. Even if it's a kids movie like Good Boys or whatever film that comes out today, like you have like everybody just drops the F-bomb left, right, and center. But like these were simpler times. These were times where you can insult people without using profanity, without using the shits and the fucks. And both are good. I'm not like a prude or anything. Like I don't like. I'm not one of those like, yeah, man, I miss the good old days where nobody swore. Like both are good. You can have the classic, old school films which I adore, and then you can have the modern age, you know, say fuck every 2 seconds. Like both are good for me. Both I'm entertained by, and both are just a representation of the times that they take place in, kind of thing. So yeah, Little Rascals is just a hell of a film. I love when they go disguised as like older guys to get money from the bank, and they're trying to take an investment out or a loan, and they're like the guy. First of all, the bank teller doesn't even realize that they're children, and he's like looking down in his paper. He's like, their voices are clearly kids. Like their voices aren't deep. They sound like children, and they're like on stilts, and like one is on the top of the other shoulders. Soldier. Oh my god. Shoulders. There we go. Soldiers. And they're like, what is your account number? 7. 7. 7. Try 8. 8? Heard enough. Pulls their beards. Snap. If you were my kids, I'd punish you. If we were your kids, we'd punish ourselves. Leave the premises post haste. You can't treat people like that, mister. You're not people. You're kids. You're not people, you're kids. Good to know. I'm glad to know that anybody under 18 is not a person, but just like some rodent that should be stomped on or whatever. Obviously, I don't believe that, but just the way you put it, you're not people, you're kids. Well, then what the fuck are they? They're not people? Kids don't matter? Come on. Little Rascals is just such a fucking classic. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. Alfalfa's note, Dear Darla, I hate your stinking guts. You make me vomit. Your scum between my toes. Love, Alfalfa. But meanwhile, he's writing like an actual love note, and then he gives it to Stymie and Porky, and then they deliver it, but they lose the note. And then they get to Darla, and they're like, oh, I lost the note, but I remember what it said. Dear Darla, I hate your stinking guts, and the whole like nasty thing. And she crushes the can. She's like, and, these kids are just really, really, really good actors for their age, and I mean, I don't see a lot of I don't see a lot of films with kids this young delivering performances this great. Like it's just it's really really good. It's really great and so quotable and like I said, some of those interlude scenes are some of the best scenes in the films. We got a dollar, we got a dollar, we got a dollar, hey, 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 hey. And the kids' faces. Oh my gosh. It's, like I said, I could go on forever, but go check out Little Rascals if you haven't. If you have, if you grew up with it, if you're my age, if you're 34 years old, or around that age, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, you'll probably watch it and you'll be like, "Ugh, this shit's outdated. Ugh, no, I don't get it. Like I don't get it." And a lot of stuff might feel inappropriate for anybody who was not born in the '90s, people who were born in the 2000s, growing up with different things and stuff like that. But it's good and it's definitely worth a watch. So go stream it somewhere, go find it somewhere. I mean, this is a classic. This is might even be a cult classic. I love it. So that's Little Rascals, and that's what I got to say about it. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.